The Toronto Maple Leafs have found a hidden gem, and it's been no secret so far that the goaltending tandem of Joseph Woll and Anthony Stolarz has shined at the NHL level, but down at the AHL level, the Leafs have another guy who has been shocking everybody. So to break down that goaltender and discuss what it could mean going forward for the future for this Toronto Maple Leafs team. Stay tuned for all that in this episode. But before we get into it, if you're a part of the 70% who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Leafs content. We go live after every game. Shout out to everybody who tuned into our stream yesterday. Your support was crazy. And again, we'll be live following the game on Wednesday as well. But there's a lot to go over today. And also, thank you guys. We hit 14,000 subscribers. So thank you guys also for that. But there's been a guy who's been taking the highlight of and headlines of every single AHL game that he plays in. And it is a goaltender. And obviously, we know how good the Leafs goaltenders have been so far, Joseph Woll and Anthony Stolarz. But I want to talk about Artur Akhtiamov. And he's been doing very good. He's only 23 years old. And quite frankly, he has been a guy who we haven't spoken about yet on this channel, but has been a guy we probably should have spoken about, a few games ago. But obviously, there's been tons of Leafs news. Darius, he has Dennis Hildeby was kind of taking the spotlight heading into this season as the top goaltending Leafs prospect. I think Akhtiamov here is coming for Hildeby's crown of the best AHL goalie for the Toronto Marlies.
I think it's coming faster than people expected, even myself, because I didn't know who this guy was really before this season. He just came over from the KHL. He played one season in the KHL, so he just came over from Russia, and he's putting on a show so far this year. And I still maintain that, Dennis Hildeby is probably next in line at this point in time because he has more NHL experience at this point. He's played more time in the Toronto Marlies, of course, but we'll see how that shakes up. But I think the Leafs goaltending is in a really good spot, and we're obviously going to get to the NHL numbers later in the video, but this guy has been a revelation down with the Marlies. He's played 7 games, 6 of them are wins. He has a 935 save percentage on the season this year, which is fantastic. He already has 2 shutouts. He's playing some really good hockey. And even when he was in Russia in the junior leagues, his save percentage for a season never went below 920 in the junior leagues, at least, right? And even in the KHL, he put up really, really good numbers last year. So coming over as a 23-year-old, of course, the game is different. He has to get acclimated to it, but I think he's doing a fantastic job. He looks really good with the Marlies. And again, the Leafs goaltending depth looks really good. If it's not going to be Dennis Hildeby, who's the next guy, Artur Akhtiamov looks like he could be the next Leafs starter in a couple of years. Of course, Anthony Stolarz is getting older. We don't know what's going to happen with Joseph Woll. They're both playing great, but the Leafs have a lot of goaltending depth, and hopefully that they're left down there to continue to develop because he's playing great. No need to call them up at this point. The Leafs have shored up their goaltending, and it feels weird after the last couple of years to look at the Leafs goaltending as a strength, a real strength, even league wide. So this has been fun. He's put on a show this year.
Yeah, strength at the NHL level and the AHL level. And now, and you mentioned it briefly there, you can see this here. Artur Akhtiamov starting his Marlies career, 6 wins, 2 shutouts, and a 935 save percentage in his first 7 games. And he picked up a 23 save shutout in the Marlies 3-0 victory over Barracuda. So, I mean, again, you mentioned his stats in the KHL, phenomenal. We were like, we were thinking about how it was going to translate in the the AHL level with the Marlies. So a step up, obviously having to get a step up. Some people consider the KHL closer to the NHL, depending on what side. Either way, it's a difference in the sense of, obviously, especially for goaltenders, it's going to be a huge adjustment. And like the NHL is a huge adjustment. We saw with Dennis Hildeby, he dominated in the AHL for a little bit, and just dominated in the non-NHL level. And then once the NHL came up, he struggled a little bit there. And you can see this here. There's been some talk about him. So it says, reminds Marlies head coach, of course, John Gruden, of Ilya Sorokin, who had the privilege of coaching while being an assistant with the New York Islanders. Just very quick side-to-side, athletic. Again, it's always an adjustment coming over here and playing a North American game where it's a little more traffic, but he seems like he's handling that really well, and good for him again. And again, if you were wondering about where they drafted him, it was in the 4th round, 106th overall back in the COVID year of 2020. So that's maybe part of the reason as to why, obviously, during that draft, there was less TV coverage, you had less scouting, all these different things. So he kind of was the definition of a hidden gem here for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I like, what are your thoughts on the Ilya Sorokin comparison? Obviously only 7 games into his Marlies career here, but that is some high praise for a goalie who's had a very good career in the NHL.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, wow, that's very surprising. Why would he say that? What specifically about this goaltender does he see? And then I didn't actually realize that he was an assistant coach in New York. So he did actually, work with that goaltender in Ilya Sorokin. And Ilya Sorokin, I mean, while playing on a not so great team in the New York Islanders, is an elite goaltender in the league. So if he sees that in this player at only 23 years old, I think that's a really, really good sign. And He is still young, and like you said, coming over from the KHL to the NHL, or the North American game, not the NHL, but obviously the AHL, there's an adjustment period, and he's done a great job doing that. So I think this is great praise. And the other thing I love too is Gruden went on to say that no moment is too big for him. He's really calm, cool, and collected in the net, which I think is really important. Obviously, if you're a goaltender anywhere, but in Toronto especially. So I really like that about this goaltender. And I don't know, he's doing great things with the Marlies. The Marlies have a great team, and obviously they're having to call guys up from the ECHL right now, and they're continuing to win, continuing to put in good performances. So they got a good thing going right now, and he's the guy between the pipes there handling it all. So it's been really good.
Yeah, 935, like I mentioned, save percentage. And Gruden admitted on Saturday that he didn't know what to expect from Akhtiamov coming into his first professional season. And that's, I mean, neither did we really, but he's been off to a terrific start. And like you mentioned, I've heard the notes and scouting reports, but you don't know until you get him in your locker room. And what I'm so impressed with about him is just his demeanor. No moment's too big for him. So it's going to be a guy we certainly have to keep our eye on as he continues to play in the Marlies. And there's a lot of guys in the Marlies that it's worth keeping an eye on for. And obviously, a lot of the Marlies are currently on the NHL roster and going to be playing in Wednesday's game, depending on some of the returns there. But yeah, let us know what your thoughts are on him. If you can go watch some of his tape from the Marlies games, it's very impressive, and it's exciting to have another Leafs prospect in the pipeline. But speaking of the NHL level, the goaltending all around the system and the entire from organization from up to down, the entire pipeline is phenomenal. But Stolarz and Joseph Woll, they have a combined cap hit of $3.27 million. They are the best goalie tandem in the league. Stolarz is 7-3-2 with a 2.18 goals against average and a 927 save percentage, whereas Woll, better goals against average, a bit lower save percentage, 4-2-0. I don't know what else to say about these guys. They've both been phenomenal. Stolarz has obviously been one of the best goaltenders in the league. Joseph Woll, his past couple starts have been really impressive, especially after a little bit of a shaky first couple, 2 or 3 games there, especially his first 2. Everybody's starting to kind of work together now, and it's becoming a true tandem. We saw Joseph Woll get the start in back-to-back games, albeit there was some time in between them. So I still think Stolarz has the clear 1A, and he will be suiting up to play his former team in the Panthers on Wednesday, but I don't know. It's a full tandem now at this point.
Yeah, I think it is a tandem, and it's the best, statistically in the league, which is pretty crazy to think about for the Leafs. It's a great thing. And obviously for that cap hit under 4 million, you have the best tandem in the league, right? You can't go wrong with that. That's fantastic. We know what Stolarz has done so far this season. He is, I think, the number one right now in most people's eyes. But Joseph Woll, he started really shaky this season, obviously with 2 losses. And there was a lot of question marks about his health. And obviously, the 2 games that he did play in, they weren't great. But the last 4 games, he's played fantastic. Last night, I thought he played really well again. He allowed 2 goals, but I wouldn't necessarily say they were his fault by any stretch. And then obviously a shutout just a couple nights ago against the Vegas Golden Knights. So he's put together some really good games of late. And again, this tandem is statistically the best in the league right now. It's fantastic. So the Leafs definitely do not have a problem in the goaltending department, which is great. You know what? It is fantastic. And I have to give credit to Jim Cavers on our stream last night that he did say that he believes that this might be the best goaltending tandem the Toronto Maple Leafs have ever had. And we were kind of debating as well in terms of the defense. And I think it is the best defensive core the team has ever had in their history at one time. And it could be the best goaltending tandem as well. So it's a good time for the Leafs right now, and they're continuing to win with a lot of injuries. And as you can see here with Stolar's stats, he's putting together a really impressive season. Like I think he just needed this opportunity from a team. He's been a backup for a couple different teams, and his story is pretty incredible the last couple of years as well. But yeah, he's playing some fantastic hockey.
Yeah, the advanced analytics have always supported him, whether it was last season throughout his entire career. And again, we were on record, at least I was, you as well to a degree, on saying that, Stolarz is going to be a great goalie, and he's ran with the spot. And yeah, I think you can make a very strong case that when it comes to a 1 and 2, like a 1A, 1B, this is the best tandem the Leafs have ever had. Now, you can make arguments that they've, of course, had some better 1A goalies when you're talking about both of them. I think this is probably the best tandem that they've had combined. But hopefully we can continue to watch this. At the end of the day, it feels surprising. I feel privileged to be able to watch a good goaltending tandem and a good blue line for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I feel like it's been years and years for both of those things to happen simultaneously. But let us know down below what your thoughts are on this. A lot of things are going on with the Maple Leafs, and hopefully they can continue their winning ways on Wednesday. But in the meantime, Austin Matthews, a lot of updates are going to come out regarding him, so make sure to subscribe button. See you later.